come to Jesus. So Enneagram basically says, all of us, every single one of us, we're all naked. Can you guys still hear me? Oh. Okay. We're all naked. And we use a lot of different things. We use money, we use status, we use power, we use relationships. We use a lot of different things to cover ourselves, to make us feel like, I'm okay, I'm doing better. I am somebody. Okay? Enneagram says we use our personalities. And there's 9 different personalities. Today, we're going to start with, where's that slide? Okay, we're going to start with Enneagram number 9. Okay, so if you are an Enneagram number 9, you need to listen carefully. Or if you think you might be an Enneagram number 9, okay, type 9, then listen carefully. But even if you're not, this is very, very important because some of us, we struggle, we have sometimes times where we struggle with the same struggles that Enneagram 9s deal with. Okay? I'm going to give you guys 3 different characteristics of Enneagram number 9. First one, Hakuna Matata. Do you guys know what that is? Younger kids, do you guys know? Okay, Hakuna Matata is from where? What movie? Lion King. Thank you, our big kid. Okay, this is like what I watch when we're younger. Okay, so Hakuna Matata means basically no worries. No worries. Okay? This is really the mindset of 9. Oh, by the way, all of these characteristics I'm going to give, these are a little bit general. Okay, so that doesn't mean that every single 9s are going to function this way or look like this. They might just show it in a different way. These are just general, okay? So basically their attitude in life is like, you know what? There's all these things. There's like conflicts. There's like difficult things. There's like, I got to do this. I got to do that. There's like responsibilities. I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to relax, okay? That's kind of their mindset. It's kind of, so personality-wise, they're very, very calm. They're very chill. Nothing really phases them too much. No big high, no big low. Just kind of like, they're always like, yeah, I'm cruising through life kind of thing. Okay? Hakuna Matata. Second one, okay? Merging. They're always merging. What that means is they always go with the majority. Okay? They don't like to stand out that much. Okay? Later on, we're going to talk about another Enneagram. They want to stand out. Okay? But 9s, they don't like standing out. They don't like being pointed out too much. Okay, on one hand they do, but most of the time they don't. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But on most of the time, so let's say for example, like they really want to eat ice cream. They want something cold. But then all their friends are like, oh, but I want coffee. I want something hot. I want something hot. Then what do you think this person is going to do? This person is going to merge. Okay, they don't want to stir anything up. They just say, oh, you wanna go? Okay, me too. Yeah, I like it too. So they'll just merge with other people pretty easily as well. Okay. Number 3, they're mediators. Okay. 9s, they don't like conflicts. They really don't like conflicts. But because they don't like conflicts, they're able to mediate very well. They're in the middle. So if there's like 2 people fighting, there's like a mom or what. Mom and dad, and they're fighting, then mediators, they usually like to go in the middle and say, oh, I understand you. I understand you. I understand you too. They understand. They have very wide understanding. Okay? And they try to, hey, let's sort this thing out. Okay? Let's make the situation better. So they're very, very good at listening. So by the way, if you guys have, like maybe you're going through a stressful situation, you need advice, or you want just somebody to listen to you, 9s are the best. Okay, because number 1, they'll be patient enough to listen to you. And number 2, because they always think of the good and the bad for all sides, they're very fair. Okay, so they're very good people to go to. Now, those are kind of the positive, but the same characteristics, there's a little bit of the negative as well. Because they might present themselves, I'm very chill, I'm good, like nothing phased. Like I'm just gonna, but how their friends or family members sometimes view them is they're super lazy. Or they're super slow. Like they're not motivated at all. They look like slugs. But they don't necessarily always feel like that, okay? Merging. Again, on some level, it's good, right? They're always willing to like compromise. They're willing to say, hey, the big group is better. But what happens is what's going on is, on the other hand, they could be very wishy-washy. They have a hard time making decisions. Okay? Same thing as mediators. They can't make a decision because they see both sides of the story. They can never make a decision. It's very difficult to make a decision. Does that make sense? So every characteristics, if you look at it in a positive light, there's positive things. If you're looking at it negative, there's negative light as well. So there's an artist. They're called Sleeping at Last. They love the Enneagram so much, they decided to write a song for every single Enneagram. Okay? So I'm going to just introduce some of the lyrics. A great song. You guys should go listen to it if you're a 9. Oh, boy. Okay. So this is what the lyric says. Who am I to say what any of this means? I have been sleepwalking. So they're kind of like that. I have been sleepwalking since I was 14. Honestly, it's easier to let myself forget. Okay? I've been less than half myself for more than half of my life. It looks like empathy to understand all sides, but I'm just trying to find myself through someone else's eyes. Okay, this describes 9 really, really well. And some of you guys, if you could resonate with this, again, doesn't mean you're this type, but again, you're relating to this. Okay? Now, Enneagram 9s. Wait, hold on. Before the... Okay, good. Okay. This is where it gets a little uncomfortable. Okay, so if you think you're Enneagram 9, okay, or if you feel like you might be an Enneagram 9, just put your shield up a little bit. Or just know that this might bother you really a lot. Because what we're going to go through is, we're going to see their characteristics, but now we're going to see why do they behave the way they do. And that's one of the things about Enneagram. It's really, really helpful. It's not just a personality test, but it really tells you why you behave the way you do. Because if you understand why you behave the way you do, then you could actually change the way you react or way you behave if you have more understanding of why you behave the way you do. Okay. This is their wounding message. This is like their nakedness. This is their, like, this is why I feel naked all the time. This is what's really at the core. Okay, for 9s is your wants, your desires, your opinions, your presence do not matter. So somewhere along the line, whether they were a kid or something traumatic happened, maybe their parents told them like directly, sometimes indirectly, this is the wounding message that they heard. This is when they started to feel like, oh, I'm really naked. Kind of like Adam and Eve. They started to believe this. They started to say, oh, I don't really matter. What I think doesn't really matter. What I want doesn't really matter. What my desire doesn't really matter. Again, it might be direct. It might be, you might say, Mommy, I want this. And then Mommy said, I don't care what you want. You just do this. It might be that. But it doesn't have to be that all the time. Okay, it could be they had some kind of situation and they just felt ignored. Maybe there was a lot of people in their family. Okay, there's different reasons. We don't know exactly. It's different for everyone. But this is the wounding message that type 9s have heard, which is you don't really matter. That's at the real core of their being. Okay, now let's kind of go through this. Okay, so they go, I don't really matter. So therefore, the things I do, it doesn't matter either. Okay, that means I start losing touch with myself. Okay, because the things I do don't really matter. My opinions don't really matter. Why does it matter to even think about them? Okay, so it's easy to lose touch, lose self, because I'm always merging with other people. And then eventually, they want to avoid conflicts. Because they felt like if there's conflicts, then they stand out. Okay, so it's easier to just avoid conflicts at all times. So do you see what's going on? On the outside, they just look like, wow, they're just really, really slow. They're just chill about everything. But deep down inside, it's just because they feel like they don't really matter. So, okay, because I don't matter, I can merge with other people very easily. Because my wants, my desires, who cares if I want ice cream? I don't matter anyways. Does that make sense? Or I just need to help other people because I don't like conflicts. I don't want to deal with conflicts. So nines, they have hard time like starting something, and once they start something, they have hard time finishing something either. Because whenever there's something hard, something difficult, they're just like, I don't matter anyways. Okay, that's really at the heart of nines. All right. Can we see a 9 in the Bible? Okay. Obviously, okay, this is not 100% because they didn't take Enneagram test and they just say, oh, this person was type 9. It doesn't. But I'm just looking at some of the characteristics of these Bible characters. Can we see some of that? Okay, so it's not 100%. Okay, the person that we're going to see, okay, his name is John Mark. Any of you guys know who John Mark is? Okay, some of you guys know, but most of us were like, who's John Mark? I know the disciple John, but I don't know John Mark. Okay, that's like nines. They're always like in the back. They don't want to stand out. They just want to blend in. Okay? All right. So this is a story from Acts chapter 13, and we're going to see John Mark. When they, Paul and Barnabas, arrived at Salamis, they proclaimed the word of God in the Jewish synagogues. John Mark was there with them as their helper. By the way, this is a positive, really, really positive thing about nines is they're always willing to support. They're always willing to help. They're always willing to go with the group. That's a positive thing. Okay? So we see John Mark here. Paul and Barnabas, they're the first missionaries, Christian missionaries, okay, overseas. Okay? And then we see that John Mark is helping them. Okay, story goes, and let's see what happens. From Pampos, Paul and his companions sailed to Perga, and in Pamphylia, where John Mark left them to return to Jerusalem. So do you guys understand what's going on? They went on a mission trip, Paul, Barnabas, and then their helper, John Mark. But all of a sudden, after traveling for a little bit, all of a sudden, John Mark just leaves them. Okay, what happened? We don't know. Okay, let's see what happened. Goes on. Barnabas, this is after the mission trip. Okay, they finished the mission trip without Mark, and they went on a second mission trip now, or they're planning to. Barnabas wants to take John Mark with them, but Paul did not think it was wise to take him because he had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in their work. So it wasn't because John Mark was like sick. Okay, it was actually, well, we don't know the exact reason. Maybe it was too hard. Maybe there was too many conflicts. There was too many hard things. But one thing we do know is it made Paul really, really mad because he felt like, oh, he just deserted us. When we needed him the most, he deserted us. That's how a lot of nines spouses or family members, they feel about nines. Okay, not because nines want to desert, it's not because they're like, they want to betray their family members, things like that. It's because nines, it's easy to get depressed. Because it's easy to lose yourself. If you're always thinking, I don't really matter, what I do don't really matter, what's going to happen? You're not going to show up. You're not going to be there when people need you. Okay? And that's what happens with nines a lot. They lose themselves. They just go, you know what, there's other people who can help. Like, am I really that much of a help anyways? Like, there's other people. Look, there's all these other people. So it's really easy to lose touch with yourself, and it's really easy not to show up. So a lot of nines that I know, okay, even from my previous experience, they marry someone who's much stronger in personality. Because again, it's easier. It's easier to just be dragged around. But what happens is the other spouse gets really, really tired of it. Of course, for the nines too, because they don't like being dragged around. It's not that they don't have opinions and desires. They do. It's just that they keep thinking, they keep the wounding messages, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But it does matter, right? And so by that time, they get really tired of being dragged around, and the other spouse, they're like, hey, do your work. Hey, do your part. Hey, have an opinion. But it's hard for them. Okay? So they don't show up. So I've seen a lot of dads, okay, that don't show up. Their mom, like super mom, they're doing like this, that. And dads are like just chill in the back and doing nothing. Why? Not because they don't care. Again, they lost themselves. It's easy to do that. Okay? So again, for all of these, there's positive and negative. There's positive traits about 9s. They're very, very pleasant people. I absolutely love 9s. I want to be around 9s all the time because I could drag them along. I could do whatever I want to do. Selfish, right? But the negative part is it's easy to lose themselves in this. Okay? So there's healthy 9 and a very unhealthy 9 as well. Okay. This is the healing message, okay, for 9s. Okay, because we talked about how all of us are naked. Don't worry. Hey, some of you guys who are not 9s, you're like, what's the big deal? Trust me, when we get to your number, you're not going to feel comfortable either. Okay, we'll get there. But the healing message, what 9s need to hear over and 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 over again is this concept: you matter. Your opinions, your desires, okay, it matters. It really matters. Not just hold it in your mind, but like it matters to other people what you think. It matters to your family members. It matters to your wife. It matters to your husband. It matters to your kids. So you got to show up. You matter. Okay. The thing is, this is incomplete. This is not enough. Because this doesn't have power. It doesn't have any power. This is basically self-help book right here. Okay, read any self-help book, they're going to be like, you matter. You're important. But it holds no power. It's just words. Okay? Whenever someone gives you value, someone says you matter, it has to come from the outside. It has to come from someone else. Okay? So what 9s really, really need to hear is not just you matter, but what they really need to hear is Jesus sees you, so therefore you matter. Okay? This is how you are really covered by Jesus. Okay? Jesus sees you, so therefore you matter. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this. We saw Jesus in the book of Acts, right? We saw Jesus, not Jesus. We saw John Mark. He's traveling with Paul and then he deserted them. Okay? But that's actually not the first time we saw John Mark. Okay, do you guys know that John Mark? Who's John Mark, by the way? John Mark, he's the one who wrote what book? The book of Mark. Okay? He's the one who wrote the book of Mark. Okay? And in there, he actually put himself into one of those stories. Do you guys know that? Okay, we don't know 100%, but most scholars believe that it's actually him. Okay. This is talking about remember how Jesus, he is praying. This is right before he's dying. He's praying in the garden. And then all the disciples like, Jesus, we're going to die with you. Everything else. And then the soldiers come. Let's see what happens. Everybody deserted Jesus and fled. A young man, okay, so this is John Mark. A young man wearing nothing but a linen garment was following Jesus. When they seized him, he fled naked, leaving his garment behind. Okay, this is a random story. Okay, and most people who are reading this are like, what was the point of this? We believe John Mark wrote this in there because he was actually there with them. So some scholars actually believe that it was actually John Mark's house where they had the Last Supper as well. Okay, 100%? We don't know, but that's what we think. Okay. Now, why is this important? Why are we talking about this? It's because if you actually read the story, this is really, really interesting. All the people that should be arrested, what are they doing? They're all running away. All the criminals, all the sinners, all the disciples, basically, they're all running away. They're all fleeing. But who's staying? Who stays and gets arrested instead? It's Jesus. Okay? If anybody should be running away, anybody who's not guilty, anybody who's clean, anybody who's pure, it would be Jesus. But Mark sees that everybody, even himself, they're all running away. But Jesus stays. Jesus gets arrested instead. And this is Christianity at its core. right? When everybody should be going to jail, everybody should be punished. Instead, they don't. Why? Because Jesus dies for them instead. Jesus pays the price instead. Okay? How is it that John Mark, he's naked now, he's running away. How can he be covered? He could be covered because of Jesus. Jesus dies for his sin instead. He dies for his shame instead. So it's Jesus who can cover him. If you guys remember, Jesus is the one who was stripped naked. Remember, they divide his clothes. They strip him naked and kills him on the cross. Why? So that John Mark, the type 9s, and everybody else in here, we can be covered instead. And that's the beauty of Christianity. You matter. 9s, you guys matter. Because the most important person who matters in this universe, the only person who matters in this universe, which is God, he comes down, he sees you, and says, you matter. Do you understand that? 9s, you really need to embrace that. The only person who matters. Because God sees everything. He knows everything. So his opinions matter. He owns the whole universe. So his opinion matters. He comes down and says, I'm willing to die for you. I'm willing to love you. That's how much you matter. You know, there's a Bible verse that a lot of people, it's really beautiful on one hand, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, I don't really like it. But I believe this Bible verse is really for the 9s here. What do you think? If one man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, will he not leave the 99 on the hill and go look for the one that wandered away? You guys know this story, right? Shepherd, he has 100. Who cares if one goes away? And that's how 9s, the type 9s, that's how they feel all their life. Just one in a tiny drop of the ocean. Who cares? But what does it say here? It says, even for the one, I'm willing to come. And so you really have to embrace that. Even if you're not Enneagram 9, maybe you feel like, I'm not that important. I'm not doing anything with my life. Or I'm not where I think I should be. And you always feel naked. You always feel like, I got to cover myself up somehow. What you need to realize is, no, it's never going to work. Those things are never going to work. You're only going to lose yourself. You're only going to hate yourself more. What you need to hear is, no, Jesus came for you. Just one. If there was just even one, just you, Jesus would have come and gone through all of that. Do you believe that? That's what Jesus is saying. Jesus sees you, so you matter. Let me tell you one last story, and then we'll finish. And some of you guys might know this story. There's a boy at the beach, and sometimes because of the high tide and things like that, there were so many starfishes, all stranded on the beach. All stranded, all over the place. So many of them. But this boy, he goes over there, he starts grabbing the starfish and starts throwing them back into the beach. Okay? And then another person comes and says, boy, little boy, there's so many. Okay? Like there's so many of them. You can't finish. You're not going to rescue all of them. Okay? It doesn't matter. And the little boy, as he's throwing one, he says, but it matters to this one. Okay? That's exactly what Jesus does for each and every one of us. You feel like you don't matter. You feel like you have failed. You feel like you're never good enough. You feel like you got to always cover yourself up. But Jesus says, you don't have to do that. You don't have to lose yourself. You don't have to get depressed. You can walk with confidence. Not because of anything that you have done, because you matter to me. Enneagram 9s? And people, even if you're not Enneagram 9, Jesus sees you. So you matter. Okay. Can I just give you one last one? Okay. One more. I know I was going to end it, but let me give you like a practical advice. There's some of you guys who you might be a 9. Okay. Then you really need to. Okay. This message is for you. Okay. But let's say you're a friend of a 9, or maybe your spouse is a 9, or your kids are a 9. Okay. What's the best way to love them? There's many different ways, but I'm just going to give you one, okay? 9s have the hardest time making decisions. Okay? So it's easy to just be like, make a decision. And they never make a decision. I'm going to make a decision. Let's go over there. And it's easy to just drag them along. Okay? That's really hard for them. Okay? So if you tell them you matter, but you ask them about the decision and you just make a decision for them, what they hear is, I don't matter. Okay? So what you need to do, you need to be, number one, you have to be very, very patient with them. So what you do is you have to observe the things that they like ahead of time. And you go, oh, they like Chinese food. Oh, they like Thai food. They like this kind of food. So what you do is you limit the choices for them. You don't go, where do you want to go? So you instead, you ask, oh, there's Chinese, there's Thai, there's this. Where do you want to go? So it limits the choices for them, and they can make easier choice. Okay? That's a very good way for you to actually love the 9s and show them they really matter. Okay? Once again, Jesus sees every single one of us. You matter. Let's go into